You've already done it today, probably more than once. You picked up your phone for no reason at all. No notification, no alarm, no real need about it. And before you even realized what was happening, 15 minutes had vanished away. And the strangest part, you don't even remember what you saw. This video is about that moment, about the invisible force that turns a just quick look into an hour of your life you'll never get back. By the time we're done here, you'll understand exactly why your brain is losing this fight and what it's going to take to actually win it. But there's something you need to hear first, something that the platforms don't want you to know, and we'll get to that at the very end. Let's start with the honest question nobody wants to ask themselves. Are you in control of your phone, or is your phone in control of you? Most people would say yes, they are in control of their phones. They would say they can put it down whenever they want, and they are not lying. They genuinely believe that. But belief and reality are two very different things, because the scroll was never designed to be satisfying. It was designed to feel like it almost is. That gap, that tiny, maddening gap between almost satisfied and actually satisfied, is where billions of dollars live. The emotion underneath all of this isn't boredom. It isn't laziness. It's something much older, much more human, and much more painful than that. It's deeply, if you start thinking about it. It's the fear of missing out on something that matters, that really matters. The terror that somewhere right now something important is happening, a conversation, a trend, a moment, and you're not part of it. Psychologists call it FOMO, but that word has become so casual we've stopped feeling its weight. What we're really talking about is the deep, primal need to belong, to be connected, to matter, and the scroll hijacks that need with surgical precision. Here's what's actually happening inside your brain every time you open Instagram, TikTok, or Twitter. Your dopamine system, the same system that drives hunger, attraction, ambition, fires every single time you encounter something unexpected. Not something good, something unexpected. That's the critical distinction most people miss. The reward isn't the content, the reward is the possibility of content. The scroll works because you never know what the next post will be. And your brain, wired for survival and novelty, cannot resist the unknown. This is the same mechanism behind slot machines. Pull the lever, maybe you win, maybe you don't. But the maybe is everything. The uncertainty is the addiction. And here's what should make you stop and think. The engineers who built these platforms knew this. They studied it. They optimized for it. The infinite scroll wasn't an accident. It was a decision of the engineers. A deliberate removal of the one moment that might have saved you, the natural stopping point. Before infinite scroll existed, you'd reach the bottom of a page. There would be a button, a pause, a fraction of a second where your conscious mind could catch up to your impulse and say, wait, do I actually want more of this? That pause was deleted on purpose, and with it, so was your ability to choose freely. But the story goes even deeper than design, because the platforms didn't just remove your stopping point, they learned you. Every hesitation, every extra half second you spent on a video before sweeping, every late night session, every topic that makes you pause, all of it is data for them. And that data feeds an algorithm that knows your emotional vulnerabilities better than most of your friends do. It knows when you're lonely, it knows when you're anxious, and it knows exactly what kind of content will keep you just stimulated enough to stay. So your phone knows you more than your friends, and just unsatisfied enough to keep scrolling. Think about that for a moment. A system built by strangers running on servers you'll never see has built a model of your inner emotional life, and it's using that model against you every single day. Not maliciously, not personally, but profitably. And profit doesn't care about your well-being. It doesn't matter. It doesn't care about it. The damage isn't just the lost time, though the lost time is real and it compounds. The deeper wound is what the scroll does to your capacity for depth. Every time we seek stimulation before we allow boredom, we weaken the muscle that generates our best thinking. Creativity doesn't come from consumption. It comes from the quiet, from the blank space, from the moment when the mind, having nothing to react to, starts to create something. And that space is being colonized by other people. There's a generation growing up right now that has never truly been bored. That sounds like a privilege. It is actually a crisis. It's terrible. Because boredom is the fertile ground where curiosity grows, where problems get solved, where ideas that change the world begin as half-formed thoughts in the mind of someone with nothing to do and nowhere to be. We are losing that, not gradually, rapidly. And this is the part of the conversation where people usually start to feel defensive, because admitting you've been manipulated doesn't feel good. It threatens the story we tell ourselves about being rational, self-directed people who make conscious choices. But here's the reframe that changes everything. Recognizing the manipulation isn't weakness. It's the beginning of power. You cannot fight an invisible system, but once you see it clearly, once you understand exactly how it works and why it works on you specifically, the dynamic shifts entirely. So what actually works? Not willpower. Willpower is a finite resource and you're being asked to use it against a system with infinite computing power and decades of behavioral data. Finding an attention engineer with raw discipline is like bringing a canteen to a wildfire. What works is its architecture, changing your environment so the default behavior is different. Removing apps from your home screen, setting your phone to grayscale, which strips the visual reward from the interface. Charging your device outside your bedroom, which eliminates the first and last scroll of your day. Statistically, the most damaging ones. These aren't hacks, they are structural changes that take the decision out of the moment of weakness. What also works, perhaps more than anything, is replacing the scroll with something that fulfills the actual need underneath it. If you're scrolling because you're lonely, the answer isn't discipline. The answer is connection, real connection, the kind that requires discomfort and presence and time. If you're scrolling because you're anxious, the answer isn't less content, it's more stillness and learning to tolerate it until it stops feeling like a threat. The scroll is a symptom. You have to treat the root. So this is why so many digital detoxes fail. People remove the app for a weekend, feel proud about it, then reloaded it Monday morning because nothing underneath has changed. The phone was never the real problem. The phone was the mirror of it. What we see reflected in our scrolling behavior, the avoidance, the hunger of validation, the terror of being alone with our own thoughts. That's the actual conversation we need to be having with ourselves. You are not weak for struggling with this problem. You are a human being operating in an environment specifically designed to exploit the most beautiful parts of being human. Your curiosity, your social nature, your love story, your hunger for meaning. The people who build these systems are not villains, but they made choices. And those choices have consequences that we are all living inside of right now. So here's what we know. Stripped down to its core, the scroll was engineered to feel like freedom while functioning as a cage. It hijacks your dopamine system through variable reward. It removes your stopping points on purpose. It learns your emotional vulnerabilities and uses them to keep you engaged. It cuts you time, depth, creativity, and the quiet that makes you most fully yourself. And it works not because you're weak, but because it's extraordinarily well built. Now, do you remember the thing we said we'd come back to at the beginning? The thing that platforms don't want you to know? Here it is. The most valuable thing you own is not your money, your car, or your house. It is your attention. And right now, it is being extracted from you at a scale, packaged, and sold. Every second you spend scrolling is a second of your finite life converted into someone else's revenue. That's not a metaphor. That's the business model that has built this. The question isn't whether you use these platforms. The question is on whose terms, yours or theirs. That is the decision you have to make. The scroll will always be there. The algorithm will always be waiting, but so will you. And knowing what you know now, the next time you pick up your phone for no reason at all, you'll feel something different. A small, clear moment of recognition. That moment is the beginning of everything.